When I see a black man and one man, I think of strength, black empowerment we have within, building community development. Let's continue to build our own. Let's continue to stay strong. Motivation, no matter the hate, no stopping. You just go. Listen up to Quan, John, and Queen P for giving us a voice. Speak up for what's yours and yell and make that noise. We are kings and we are queens. Melanated royalty, just getting started. Loving self and knowledge. Stack that wealth. Motivational motors, y'all.
Personally, I felt like I would take that challenge. Although the things that you use to grade people, I you know what? I'm deciding I'm gonna start using that with new people I meet. If you can't meet those 4 criteria, we can't be friends. If you don't stand for something and you don't just explain it and you can't break it down, and if you don't communicate it clearly, we have no business being friends.
Exactly.
That's right.
I don't even argue with people anymore like that.
Right.
Like, I got an uncle that's, on crack. He's been on crack 20 years.
Okay.
He tried to come at me all the time. And, and I don't like.
In what way does he try to come at you?
Like, he was like, oh, so how long you been in school? And, oh, well, I didn't go for a PhD. All of this, Uncle Ruckus type stuff.
I know people like that. I know people like that.
So, and I just look at him and I was like, wow. I was like, when he asked the question, like, how long you still been in school? I was like, I don't know. How long have you been on crack? I just do it that way. And I don't get angry. I just try to speak.
There's no reason to.
Because I'm like, I need to communicate clearly to him.
There's no reason to.
So,
that's a very good point, because I use similar analogies when I speak to people that are, because I'm not offended easily by people. Me personally, that's just a skill that I have. I really feel like that's a virtue in life. You know what I mean? Because when you know thyself, who can really get at you? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So when I really speak to people that are offended by people really easily, and usually when they're offended by people, it's by people that are beneath them. Usually, right? Am I right? So I asked them, hey, come on, man. I give them the analogy. If you're walking down the street and you fly that day, you got your fly clothes on, your shoes, yada, 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 you looking good. And you walk down the block and that bum in the corner, that pork on the corner says, ew, look at your shoes. Look at your stuff. Are you going to let that pauper get you angry? Are you so egotistical that you're going to allow that pauper that doesn't have a crumb in their pocket tell you that you're not looking good? If you are, you're a loser of epic proportion. Okay?
Exactly.
We have to think before we react and look at who we are reacting to.
Yeah. Okay? I totally agree. You know what? I like talking like, I'll say this. Joe Budden, man, I know people got all these opinions, but I would say this, man.
I like Joe.
I love when he was on Love and Hip Hop. And it was like Tahiri, she was yelling, arguing with him. And he was like, don't call me again. He was like, and then I just love how he got into the low register, Joe. That's when he's about to cut you with words. Yeah. Nope, I'm not gonna call you anymore. I'm not.
Right.
And I was like, this dude here. And ever since then, I've been following that. I'm just like, when students go home, I was like, no. I was like, that is horrible. And then they'll say, well, can I get some extra credit? I said, no. Well, what can I do to get my grade higher? The only thing that you can do, if you can go to Home Depot, find the tools necessary to build a time machine. You go all the way back to the beginning of the semester and do what you were supposed to do. That would be the only way you could get a high grade. And then, but I don't say it like with anger or even like, so I just say it straight like Joe Budden. And people don't get offended. Like,
you know how pissed they are when they leave that office.
You know what?
That's funny right there.
Does make people more upset when there's like zero emotion.
It does.
It's like you're saying the shadiest thing, but have
that's
no
funny, man.
behind it. That triggers people.
I do that to my class all the time. When they get aggravating, like not doing any work,
Right.
my one line has always been like, Whitney Houston once said, "I believe that children are the future." That's when I realized she was on crack then. And they're like, wait a minute. I'm like,
Yo,
That's wrong. You wrong for that.
R.I.P. Whitney, because my cousin, that's her favorite singer of all time. And when she sees it, she's gonna be pissed. But it was funny. I can't lie. Damn. So, as a Black college professor on campus, have you personally felt any type of bias against you? And I ask you that because me, as well as Portia Mystique, we're followers and not followers. We listen to the knowledge and theories of Dr. Boyce Watkins, and he was a former college professor, and he always discusses the antics by the dominant group and the oppressor while he was a professor. So have you experienced any type of things that you can verbalize that you feel like was straight racially biased?
Yeah, I think as a Black person, period. I mean, we live in racist society. We live in that. Sorry, Tim Scott.
Absolutely.
We live in that society. So I would say it even starts at the beginning of the training process. I'm University of Missouri, Columbia, but going just through the graduate school process, and you're teaching students that, like, I have my master's, I'm teaching undergrad. Right. And then when students first hear, like, you're a professor of English, and then I hear remarks like, what do you teach, Ebonics? Wow. And I was like, so yeah.
You've heard that before?
Yeah. And then I kindly told the guy, I said, well, actually, I think we should name it Ivoryonics. And I said, because think about it, the Africans that were brought here had to learn English from who? And I said, and do you think these people spoke the King's English? I said, no, these were the lowest of the low, the gutter people that Europe did not want. And they taught us that. So in a sense, it's Ivoryonics. So, I say that
you had hard with that one.
So, I had that. I've had where I ordered books on, like, now in any English class, they would allow all graduate students to pick out whatever book they wanted to teach. I wanted to teach freshman composition using the African American anthology of literature.
Right.
Then they was like, I had people that would say, do you think that's too much, or do you think that's too much to teach freshmen? And I was like, I said, from K through 12, no one had ever asked me, was it too much to learn about George Washington or any other, white dead male and that sort of thing. I have learned to live in the margins. But you're saying through making it through my K through 12 camp and one Black man teaching one class for 3 hours a week for 16 weeks may make people's minds explode. That's a problem. And then I said, where else would these kids learn diversity? I was like, do you think they're going to take African-American lit? So, I've had stuff like happen. I've had students that have been even more like, I had a student threaten me, and he said, the difference between the N-word and coons, send that to me in text. And they said, I like to shoot N-words. I was like, wow. And I was like, okay. So,
a student?
Yeah, a student. And then, you go to the police, and then they say, oh, it was actually from a 15-year-old. We decided that.
Yeah, 15-year-old sociopath.
Right. So, and then they were like, we just decided to bring it to his mom's attention. And so, Yeah, so you have moments like that. I even when I taught at a HBCU, which all HBCUs are not HBCUs. So I went to a
Right.
HBCU
That's
and
right.
I taught, and I was the only Black man in the English department, for
Really?
one. And then number two, they didn't allow me to, I had to fight to teach an African American lit class.
Mm.
Then on top of that, I was, I'm like, because it was somebody else, older white guy that was teaching it. So, you can't have a
And he
young
has more expertise.
so,
Crazy.
I was
Crazy.
like, I was like, if any
Wow.
chord I feel that could get me in, I was like, I should be able to teach Black stuff. So,
Right.
so,
Right.
so, you go through stuff like that. People are surprised when they, especially because my government name is Jesse Adolf. They expect to see a German dude
Yep.
with blonde hair, and then hear this big Suge Knight looking dude
Yep.
come up in here.
Yep.
I've even had white folks stop me at Walmart, and I had my college attire on or whatever. And then they was like, I wear like little jerseys or whatever, or a little shirt.
Right.
Then they'll say, "Oh, are you the football coach?" I was like, "No, I teach English." I said, "No, I'm a professor." And then they were like, "Professor of what?" And I want to say so bad, Negrodom, but then I was like, English. And then they look at me like, "They taught you how to read?" I was like, "Yeah, good." So
That's crazy.
So yeah, so that's more my style of teaching. I kind of feel like I have to, my teaching style is more like, a mix of Malcolm X with a dash of Paul Mooney.
Gotcha.
So
I like that. That's well put.
I have to do that. I have to keep comedy, so
You have to
keep from strangling someone.
That's right. Absolutely.
Let us know what you do on your show. Like, what is your YouTube channel about, and what do y'all do over there?
Oh, awesome. So Dad Cypher, a hip hop guide to fatherhood, really looks at anything related to hip hop culture and how it connects to fatherhood. Like we'll have like my sons when they're in town, because I do the out of town thing too with my kids. When they're in town, we basically analyze hip hop lyrics and stuff like that always deal with fatherhood content.
Okay.
Also, it's also about everyday culture too. So I try to have YouTubers on there that talk about Black life, hip hop culture. I talk about any topics that connect to fatherhood. And then lately, I've been getting into like pop culture and stuff. Like, for instance, got a new one coming up with why does Fox 911 hate Black dads? So, part two,
I like that.
Watch that show 911, and anytime you see a Black father, he is either leaving the family or he's dead.
That's true, man.
Wow.
True.
And Angela Bassett produced the show. I'm like, are you trying to get back at Ike Turner? I'm like, what is it?
What? Angela Bassett produced the show.
She's on the show too.
Produces the show.
I didn't know she produced it.
I think she's trying to get back at Ike, I mean, and if that's the case, I'm like, okay, you deserve that, understandable. But yeah, that's what we do, Dad Cypher. We got a Facebook group. We on YouTube. I put it on Instagram, but yeah, check it out, Dad Cypher, a hip hop guide to fatherhood.
Definitely.
That's dope. Loving this show, man. This platform, man. Y'all so dope, man.
I appreciate you. Let me ask you before we ask the fundamental question. Let me ask you what was your reason behind saying, hey, a platform of Dad Cypher's magnitude have to be on YouTube? What was the epiphany? Was there an epiphany that encouraged you to do this podcast?
Well, the epiphany is, for the most part, a lot of students love what I do in the classroom.
Cool.
But I also think that why should the classroom be limited to the four walls of academia?
Got you.
I want to reach the people that, you know, my show is geared towards like the urban fathers that have redemption stories, the urban fathers that may have been abusive, incarcerated, that may have been unwed, that may be going through negative co-parenting. And these are really when we think about fatherhood, for the most part, we've always had images that cater to middle class. Like we look at the Cosby Show, that's middle class. We look at Blackish, that's middle class. My wife and kids were all middle class.
Right.
But ever since Rock and Good Times, we haven't had a lot of, you know, shows that really speak to us. And for me being a fatherless kid, I always looked at these shows for social cues like Cosby and that sort of thing, but I couldn't quite find myself in it. So I wanted to create a platform where, you know, I could find like-minded fathers that be like, hey, you know, I've been through divorce. Hey, I've been through like my kids not living with me. I have, you know, a strained relationship sometimes with my kid. I was violent as a father started now, like and going to therapy, mental health. So I really expose myself in a way so that I try to make other fathers feel comfortable in just knowing like you can be a dad no matter what. You know, it's hard work, but you gotta constantly define what is your truth. So that's what I try to do.
You know what? And Quan John will definitely be tuning into your podcast, and hopefully I'll be a guest one day because I fall into all of those categories. Everyone. Check.
Oh man, definitely would love to have you on the show, man.
Definitely,
you know, appreciate definitely, you know, and you as well, Portia.
Definitely.
Because, you know, that's I want to talk about
tandem, you know what I mean?
Experience and that sort of thing. So, you know.
Let me ask you this question, man. You know, we end off our podcast by asking the fundamental paramount question.
Okay.
What would you say to that 16, 17, 18-year-old Jesse, soon to be extra large professor? What would you whisper in his ear to make his journey and his ride a bit smoother through life? If you can go back and speak to him right now, what would you say to him?
Yo, I would say get therapy, kid.
Touche.
Get therapy, man. And love yourself first. And I would say, hey, at 23, you think you want to be married. You're not ready.
Woo, I said the same thing. Woo, damn, brother. You right. We did have the same trial and tribulations. We did.
That's what I would say. Run.
Run. Right, man. Yes.
It's not all her, man. I just did, you know, when you don't love yourself.
That's right.
And you got to discuss, because people don't understand, man. You love comes from the overflow, and if you're not overflowing with love for yourself, then how do you expect to really know how somebody is loving you the way you want to be loved? So
that's good point. Very good point. Never thought about it that way. Very good point. Portia, final thoughts?
I'm a little stuck on that last.
Deep,
quote.
Right?
Like,
deep,
love is overflow. In order to love someone, your own cup has to be full first.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank God I love myself. So
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I think a lot of young people need to discover loving. I mean, because if you're a person of color, like, how would you learn how to love yourself?
Right.
Everything in the media teaches you how to hate yourself. You know, either you're too thin, you're too big, you're too black, you're too light, you're too all of these things. You're invisible. You don't matter. We could put a knee on your neck. I mean, like, why would you think? You know, it's hard to love yourself being black. You know,
it does. It comes from family. I have to say. I feel like the love that I have for myself. I've always had self-love. I've always been kind of conceited. So that helped. But like, honestly, let's just be honest here. I've always been
you know, but you have a right to be conceited. You understand? Okay. A lot of us don't have rights to be conceited. You understand?
Right.
I look at my siblings. I have so many siblings, and they're not all like me. So I have siblings who don't love themselves the way I love myself. So I don't, maybe, it's just funny that you said that because you reminded me of one of my siblings. And they have a chip on the shoulder like that. And it's like, okay, maybe it's not parenting. Maybe it's just me and I'm weird and I've just been so conceited to the point that I just love myself. I don't know.
I think it's your perspective. Yeah. Like I said, I'm a proponent of perspective. You can be in a terrible situation. Mm-hmm. However, perspective gets you out of the situation.
It does. And you have to, like I said, and also all of us have faced trauma. Yep. And really coming to terms with trauma and just learning your story. For me, I didn't discover I suffered from depression and anxiety until I was 31. And because no one in my family talked about it, it was like a stigma attached. Right. But once I was able to, go to therapy and really unearth like a lot of the stuff, because what I began, like going off of what you were saying with perspective, is this whole thing of, and this is my thing with perspective. The only difference, most people decide early on in life if they're going to be buried or planted. Both involve people throwing dirt on you. So if you're buried, you're basically just going to lay there and allow yourself to be covered. But when you are being planted, you learn to push through and that you learn that pain. You could set your roots down and you could project up because you pushing through all of that. Yeah, you're going to come out scarred. Yeah, but you know what? It's going to be a beautiful thing, because you took all the punches that life gave and you still got back up. So in life, I always look at, are you going to be buried or are you going to be planted? The one thing that we as people of color always say, God don't give you more than what you can handle. Actually, I just discovered recently, all of that is a myth. It's not really God doesn't give you all that it doesn't give you all these things because he knows you can handle it. He gives you everything on your shoulders so you can start leaning on him. It ain't about trying to do this all on your own.
I like that.
Right.
Because we can't. No man is an island, so we can't do it all on our own strength. Even when we talk about, if from a biblical standpoint, even if you talk about like Jesus, even he had to call to his father, like, Father, move this bitter cup from me.
That's right. So
if people say God don't give you more than you can handle, he wouldn't have said, take this bitter cup. He would have said, oh man, I'm taking this. I'm a G.
Right. Right.
Don't worry about it. I got this. No. But we as Black people sometimes try to do that and take all of that on. When in actuality, we need somebody to lean on, we need to support, and we need somebody like Andre 3000 said to say, if, maybe, or probably. That's what we need. So that's it.
Woo. Extra large professor, man, we respect you, and you are definitely a friend, and you definitely want to be a reoccurring guest to the channel. You know what I mean? If you accept that invitation, we need more people like you on the channel and in the world.
Appreciate it. Appreciate y'all platform and what y'all doing and change it, man. Y'all changing the narrative, man. And that's what we need, man. Y'all teaching young people how to express themselves in different ways. So, and I love the dynamic. It's a Black man, Black woman together type thing. That's super dope, man.
Taking care of business out here. You know what I'm saying? Letting these kids know that you can overcome any adversity, you know what I mean, and root to your own prosperity. For real, for real. You know what I'm saying? So from Portia Mystique, we got my boy, my man, extra large professor. Check him out on Dad Cypher. The link will be in the description. You got your boy Quan John, baby. Motivation Motives 100. Yeah.